What is up, everybody? Welcome in to Tide Talk Live. Stacey Blackwood, and we got our boy back, Jake Thomas. New dad vibes over there. Jake, what is up, buddy? How you doing? It's been too long.
Yeah, it's been a while, buddy, but I'm glad to be back. I'm living the if anybody's part of the struggling with sleep nation, I'm part of that now because kind of get some sleep around here right now. It's kind of tough, but new dad and enjoying every second of it, man. It's nothing like being a dad, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it, buddy. So, mom, baby, everybody good?
Everybody's good, man. We got home Wednesday and been just trying to, trying to get settled in, but we're kind of in a little routine now. So I was able to hop on here and record something with you today. So I'm glad I was able to do this.
No doubt about it. It's good to have you back, buddy. This is Tide Talk Live on the Believe Network. One of the fastest growing podcast networks in the country. Proud to be a part of that. But we're also on YouTube, so make sure you do subscribe to our channel, hit that bell notification so you get notified each and every time we either do a live show or upload a video. And as you can see from the thumbnail and the video title, we're going to be talking about Kalen DeBoer. We're going to be talking about the transfer portal, just all the madness that has been going around the Alabama football program. We're going to be talking about that because Jake has not been with us since all this has went down. So, Jake, I guess the best place to start is just your initial thoughts on the hiring of Kalen DeBoer as Alabama's football coach.
Yeah, Stacey, I'll start off by saying we was in the hospital room when ESPN and my phone dinged, and it was ESPN saying Nick Saban has officially retired from Alabama, and I was like, okay. I said somebody hit a wrong button at ESPN because we talk about this every single year. Saban was either going to leave the team or he was retiring after the season ends. Well, when it said that Chris Lowe had reported it, I immediately went to Chris Lowe's X or Twitter, and it was on there, and it was actually the real Chris Lowe. It wasn't one of these fake accounts. And I said, well, blue check mark, that's something about it, and it's true. So, I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, where do we go from here? And I started thinking about candidates. Of course, Lane Kiffin comes to mind because a lot of people really like Lane. Of course, Dabo Sweeney. A lot of fans liked him. I said, but other than that, and Steve Sarkisian, I said, other than that, you know, we've got to have a home run hire here. So I'm like, okay, who else would be somebody that you could look at? Dan Lanning is another name that come to mind. A lot of people, I was really high on him, just because the success he's had at Oregon. And I'm like, I'm not going to worry about too much because we know what Greg Byrne has done, with the hires that he's done since he's been in Alabama. I mean, he's made a fantastic hire with Nate Oates. I mean, you see what that has brought the basketball program, and Nate Oates, what he has done for the basketball program. He's pretty much given it new life and everything, and winning conference championships. I mean, he's won 3 since he's been there already. And so, and then what he's done with Rod Vaughn, I think baseball wise, I think Alabama's a top 25 in the country recruiting under Rob so far. So he's made excellent hires his time at Alabama. So, that night, a lot of people was talking about Dan Lanning. I went to bed. I was like, okay, well, Dan Lanning's probably going to get interviewed and he may take the job. Woke up the next morning and it's like Dan Lanning's got on camera and on a TV show, whatever, and said that he's not going to be the coach. I said, okay. And then we hear about Kalen DeBoer, and I'm like, oh, wow. I said, this guy just played in a national championship game. I'm like, interesting. That is very interesting. So then it come out where we actually hired him, and I'm like, okay, I really like this pick. And I want to give credit. I'm running deep here, Stacey, but doing a lot of talking, but I got so much to talk about and to say. But I want to give Kalen DeBoer credit for being that guy and saying, hey, I will be the guy who replaces the GOAT. I'm not going to be scared. I'm going to come in and I'm going to allow him to have 100% access to my program, but I'm going to build it the way I want to build it. And that's pretty much what he's done. And he said, I want Saban to give me pointers along the way because I mean, he's the greatest of all time. I want him to give me that. But at least he took the opportunity and stepped up and said, "Hey, I want this job, and I'm going to be and make this program be how I want it to be. I'm not scared to replace the goat." And I give him a lot of credit for that. I'm really excited about Kalen DeBoer. His press conference, man, I just loved it. The vision that he has, and he talked about we're going to the standard. He talked about the Alabama standard. We're still going to win SEC championships, and we're still going to win national championships. I can't say enough about it, man. I love it.
Yeah, that was a lot to take in, Jake. But you've had a
Yeah,
week's worth of more than a week's worth of time to kind of collect your thoughts and go through all of it. But it really is just it's been a wild week, a wild, I guess 9 days now is what it's been since all of it's kind of transpired. But do want to get to the chat real quick.
hmm
James Crick is in. Thank you, James.
hmm
Living Life wants to know about the recruiting update from this weekend. We'll talk about that here in just a minute.
yep,
Ricky Smith is in. Good to have you, Ricky. Jim says Penix was a 3-star. And DeBoer,
yep.
yeah, we see what DeBoer turned him into. What's up, guys, from Richard?
hmm
Nick Saban right here. Good stuff. Changed, exciting, no doubt
Right,
about it. Yeah, okay. Well, let's real quick. I do want to touch on the recruits that's the recruiting going on this weekend. Of course, really the biggest news is that Ryan Williams is in town on an official
right,
visit, and from everything that I've heard, that the coaching staff has been able to spend a lot of time with him. He went to a local high school basketball game last night with Jalen Mbakwe. Those two guys are extremely close, and you know Williams has always loved Alabama. So I think that there's still a very strong possibility that he picks Alabama on signing day. I think he's actually going to commit on February 9th, which is his actual birthday. I believe
right.
that's still the plan. So I do like where Alabama's at right now. So update on Ryan Williams is Alabama's right in the mix, and I think Tide fans should be excited about the prospects of him signing with the Tide. Also, see Noah Carter, a 2024 guy who was committed to Washington, actually signed with them, got released from his national letter of intent. He is also on an official visit with Alabama this weekend, and they would be surprised if I think anybody would be surprised if Noah Carter, the 4-star edge defender, does not end up picking Alabama. A couple of Washington players that are there right now, wide receiver Jeremy Bernard and offensive lineman Parker Brailsford. They're also both on campus right now. And I believe they're both probably going to commit to Alabama this weekend. Bernard is an extremely talented wide receiver who, on most teams last year, would have been wide receiver 1, but because of the guys they had at Washington, I think was 3rd or 4th on the team in receiving yards. But a really high quality wide receiver. Brailsworth is one of the best interior offensive linemen in the country as a redshirt freshman last year. So a lot to be excited about there. Now, as far as the defensive back Jabbar Muhammad goes, NIL is going to be a factor with him. Now, look, I think Alabama is still in the mix, but you have to look at teams like Texas, Oregon. Those teams are a little more willing to, just hand over the money than what Alabama is. But I still think Alabama's, got a chance here with Jabbar Muhammad. So those are the guys that we know for sure are there and that are Alabama are right in the mix with right now. But I guess the biggest roster movement, I guess, of the last couple of days is the fact that Coach DeBoer and Coach Grubb bring in Austin Mack, a redshirt freshman
hmm
quarterback from Washington, and then Julian Sayin decides to enter the transfer portal. I would love to get everybody's thoughts on that.
Yeah, that, Stacey, I'll give you my thoughts. Let me say this. I've been thinking about this for a couple of days, and we have said from time and time again, the players should be getting some kind of benefit for their name, imaging, and likeness. That's what NIL is about. They should be getting paid to some degree. The way it is, the way the transfer portal is, and the way NIL is, it's just way out of control right now. The NCAA has got to do something to start regulating this a little bit. But I have told a couple of people, I said, 10 years ago, and I may have said it on one of our shows, Stacey, but 10, 15, 20 years ago, you sold a player on the history of the program. Now it's about how many dollar signs you can give them, how much money you can pay them to come to that program. And I hate that because Alabama is one of the richest, programs in history and in the college football world. There's no doubt about it. Players should want to come to Alabama to play for that history, not for money purposes. So I don't know. I just hate it, but I feel like the ones that we have still here, the ones that I think Ricky had said, not talking about the ones who have stepped up and said, no, we're staying here and bleeding crimson. That's what I love to see. Tyler Booker, Deontay Lawson, Malachi Moore, all them guys, they're leaders, and they're saying, like Tyler Booker said, no amount of money was going to change me from bleeding crimson, pretty much. And I paraphrase a little bit. He said, I didn't come to Alabama because of money. I come to play for Alabama to set the standard and continue the standard. So if you want to be here, I love it. That's fine. But we do got to regulate NIL and the transfer portal at some point in NCAA.
Yeah, and I totally agree with what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, but you got to understand it from the prospect standpoint. From this regard, they all didn't grow up Alabama fans.
That's true.
So I mean, it's different for them, and like Ashley says, many of these players don't come from families with money, so it's easy for us to say, don't come here for money, come here for Alabama. So, it's just one of those things that I understand both sides of it, and there, more than one thing can be true at a time. I think that all that kind of gets lost, but look, like you said, there has to be some type of legislation on NIL and the portal, and it's going to come eventually. I mean, I don't know how quick it'll be here, but there's going to be a massive change to the way all this works out. There's going to be a massive change coming up to the college football calendar. There has to be. So. It's just really unfortunate that Alabama happens to be going through not only a coaching change, but you're moving on from the greatest coach of all time.
Right.
And right now there's nobody left in the portal, and because the transfer portal is closed for everybody except the teams that have made a coaching change. So there's nobody for Alabama to get right now, but Alabama's players can go anywhere they want. So it's a very unfortunate situation, but you got to deal with it. Coach DeBoer dealt with this 2 years ago when he took over the Washington job. So, and he even said yesterday on the Feinbaum show, this roster's in much better shape than what he had when he took over Washington. So I think we just need to be patient with Coach DeBoer. I think he's doing a great job considering the circumstances. And I think one thing that you can point to that he has just knocked it out of the park with is his coaching staff, Jake. I mean, his coaching staff has just been – his hires have been incredible. I mean, he got two sitting FBS head coaches to leave their jobs and come coach at Alabama. So just a great job that he's done so far. I really like the staff he's put together. He's got a good mix of people that he's comfortable with, people that are outside of his coaching circle but are great recruiters across the country, whether it's in the state of Texas, up in the DMV. The guy that they're hiring from Wisconsin, he heavily recruits the DMV area at an elite level. Lindquist is from Texas, so he has ties to that part of the country. But then he also keeps guys like Freddie Roach and Robert Gillespie, Clinton Dix, Josh Chapman. They're all still a part of that coaching staff, and they're all able to recruit. They all have relationships already with all these high schools that Alabama's recruited in the past. So this Coach DeBoer has done an amazing job of putting a staff together with a mix of all different options from the coaching world. And I think, I think you could make the point that if Coach DeBoer was at any other program in the country and he was just hired there and he made all of these same exact hires, everybody would be talking about, is this the best coaching staff in the country?
Right.
But because it's Alabama and he's replacing Nick Saban, it just feels different. So I just think the staff he's put together is incredible. And I think you're going to see a lot of good things. And I think there's going to be good news this weekend, I believe. I think somebody asked if there'll be any commitments this weekend. I think there will be. So there's going to be a lot of good news coming up the next couple of days.
Yeah, Stacey, we were talking about Kalen DeBoer, but I'm so excited about what he's building at Alabama, starting out. And, this just shows what the coaches have to go through nowadays. You have to build your staff, especially when you're coming into a new program. You have to build your staff. You have to recruit guys. Nowadays, you have to keep guys that's there, recruit them back to your cause, and show them, say, hey, what we're implementing, you're going to fit perfectly in the system. And that's why I think guys like Ryan Williams are kind of looking like, okay, but even though I'm decommitted, I'm still going to look hard at Alabama because, I mean, my gosh, what Washington did with their receivers. I mean, I think they had a 1,600-yard receiver and a 1,200-yard receiver. So I mean, if you're a wide receiver looking at that, it's like, man, I want to play in that in that offense. Ron Grubb is probably the greatest offensive mind in the country right now, an offense coordinator. So it's just an excellent staff. And then, like you said, Stacey, keeping guys like Freddie Roach and Robert Gillespie, you have those guys who are really good recruiters as well and know the program, and Ha Ha and Josh Chapman. So you have a little bit of the Alabama standard still in there, but now you're also bringing in new blood to reach and to continue that standard moving forward. You're muted.
Sorry about that. But yeah, and even guys like Courtney Morgan, who's going to be like the GM of the Alabama football team, and the way he's able to kind of handle kind of the leadership role of recruiting, and as far as kind of getting to know everybody, building relationships, man, what a phenomenal staff. If you just look at what he's done, he brings his wide receiver coach as well, Jamarcus Shepard, one of the most highly respected receiving coaches in the country. So, man, what a great staff. Really really looks like muting of Locked On Bama. Yeah, I'm pulling a Luke Robinson here.
That's right.
Yeah, and right here, this coach making decisions based on what he wants his dynasty to believe. I believe great things are coming to the Tide. I agree with that. I think that's a great way to look at it. That he's got to do what Coach DeBoer wants to do.
Right.
If he comes in here and tries to be Saban 2.0, and that's not who he is, then that's going to be a failure. He's setting himself up for failure. He is building this the way he wants it to be, and I'm excited about it. A lot to look forward to, no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely, Stacey. I'm excited to see, what the future holds with Kalen DeBoer and his family here at Tuscaloosa, because I think, like Rosemary says, he's going to do great things at Alabama. We just got to be patient with him.
Yep. Let's see. Chris says, be careful. Washington played in no defense Pac-12, got shut down when they played real team defense. Against who? Against Michigan? I mean, Michigan was the best defense in the country all season long. I mean, they shut down everybody.
Yeah.
And he has there's a little more players overall at Alabama than there is at Washington.
Yeah, that's the thing. We lost a lot so far in the portal, but we're so deep, we got guys there that we can already plug and play because of the depth, and they have already had some experience.
Well, and I want to say this about the portal, and I kind of alluded to it earlier. Mm-hmm. Everybody's just looking at what Alabama's lost so far. Mm-hmm. The spring portal is not here yet. I mean, this Alabama roster is going to look completely different once the fall gets here, because we still have the summer months to add players. So don't just look at what Alabama's lost right now and think, well, all the guys they have there right now is all they're ever going to have. That's not how it's going to be.
Right.
Yeah, that national championship game, and there was a play or two, like you said, Jim, where it could have went either way. I mean, I just they went 15-1, whatever it would have been. Is it 14-1? Whatever. I can't even remember how many games they play now. It's so crazy.
Right. And honestly, Washington, for talking about the comment earlier, they play really well against, they beat Oregon, and Oregon had a very, very talented defense. They a lot better defense in the Pac-12 than most Pac-12 defenses. But look at Texas, what they did against Texas. Texas' front line was probably one of the best in the nation. I remember what they did in the second week against Alabama. They just pushed our guys around because that defensive line was really good. But Washington found a way to stop that defense in front. So, I'm not worried about the defense at all under Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, this is a new way for Alabama. Never had to play the portal game. Well, I mean that's not exactly true. I mean, there's been a lot of good players that Alabama's had over the past several years that were portal guys. But as far as a numbers standpoint, no, they've never they're never going to have to go to the portal as often as they will this summer. But I'm not sure that's going to be something that happens all the time. I mean, a lot of this is because of just the window and the way things worked out. I mean, you look at 22. I think was it they're up to 22? Is that how many years or 29? There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's in the portal. But like I mentioned, right now Alabama can only add guys from either Washington or Arizona.
Right now. Yeah.
I mean, so that they have no options right now. So
Right.
it looks worse than what it is. So because all their guys could leave right now. So it's just
Hmm.
it's not
And
as bad as it seems.
and if Jim Harbaugh takes an NFL job, then Michigan can jump in the portal. Some of their
Yeah,
guys. So
it may be a little different for them because it seems like they may be more set up to kind of hand over the keys to what's his name, the Moore guy who took over when
right.
when
Hmm.
Harbaugh was suspended. So
Yeah.
um, just Jimmy Kelly says Mbakwe posted, stay tuned for exciting news.
That's right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big weekend for Alabama, and it should kind of calm some people down
Mhm.
over what's happened the last few days. With Caleb Downs leaving, Julian Sayin leaving, but it is what it is. And look, I think out of all the guys that left, I think Caleb Downs is the one guy I wish would have stayed.
Hmm.
Obviously, I wish Julian Sayin would have stayed, and maybe Isaiah Bond, but
Right.
I mean, the truth is, outside of those guys, I'm not sure there was any just loss that is irreplaceable.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, Stacey. We gave our thoughts when it first happened and guys started going to the portal. Earl Little Jr. was one that come to mind. But losing Caleb Downs, it will hurt. But I'm pretty confident. We still have some leadership in that secondary. We still got a lot of great players in that secondary. Um, it is going to hurt losing Caleb Downs because he's arguably the best freshman in the country. But we're going to be fine. We are so deep and so talented at other positions with 4 and 5 stars players everywhere. We are going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, well, and I
Mhm.
want people to look at this. Look, take the top 40 players on Alabama's team against the top 40 players, even with all the portal entries.
Mhm.
Take the top 40 players that are currently on Alabama's team against the top 40 players on everybody else's team in the country. They are right up there with the elites of college football still, even
Right.
with all the guys that are portaled out. And once again, once the spring portal opens back up, there is going to be a lot of guys that want to come to Alabama. A
Right.
lot.
Yep.
A lot of good football players are going to want to come to Alabama. So it's way too early to hit the panic button.
Stacey, I want to get your thoughts on one thing. How do you see Justice Haynes and Jam Miller being integrated in this offense this coming up year?
Well, see, DeBoer and Grubb, they're not just a pass. Look, they were pass heavy this last year because they
Right.
had a really good throwing quarterback and like 4 receivers that are really, really good.
Right.
So but they still had 1,000-yard rusher.
Right.
So they can still run the football, but they predicate what they do on offense based on what they have from a player standpoint.
Hmm.
And I think if you look at what Alabama has right now with Justice Haynes and Jam Miller, Richard Young, the
Try.
freshman, Kevin Riley, Daniel Hill, the guy. So I think what they have right now, and especially with a lot of young receivers on the team, which I think are very talented and I think have a chance to be really, really elite. I really think
Mhm.
that. I
Yeah.
think Jalen Hill has a chance to be elite. I
Yes.
think I think the Bernard kid that I believe will transfer from Washington to Alabama. I think he has a chance to be elite. So um, I like Kobe Prentice is still there, Emmanuel Henderson. So they're
Yep.
young receivers, but I think early on you're going to see a lot of both Miller and Haynes in the backfield at the same time. So um, I do think they're going to be involved. That's what I'm looking forward to spring because I have no idea because Washington does so much offensively. I've watched about 3 or 4 games so far from last year, and it's been mostly shotgun, obviously, but there's so many different formation variations. There's so many different combination of different players and positions. But then I get to the Arizona game, they're lining up in I formation and running a toss sweep. So
Yeah.
it's just they do everything, Jake. And
Mhm.
so I like what they do. They're all about personnel,
Mhm.
and they're going to have lots of weapons to work with at Alabama.
Yeah, Boone the goat said that he uses tight ends very well too. A lot of movement. So Caleb Odom would probably, yeah, he could end up being special in this type of offense for sure.
Yep. And Bachway's production will be close to Downs' freshman season. A great, oh man, shoot! If he can even come close to that, I'd be happy.
Yeah, yeah. There's still a lot. There's still a lot of great guys committed to Alabama that's coming in this year. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
look, the defensive background. We talked about it. Probably a month ago now, Stacey, for everything happened in my life with the hospital stay and stuff. But my gosh, that 2024 defensive back class is loaded.
Yeah, and of course, one guy's already he's leaving out,
Right.
Jameer Grinsley, which is fine. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like we said, if you don't want to be here, you don't want to be here, and it's
Yep.
part of it. But I want to speaking of the 2024 class, Jake. Ryan Williams is obviously the main target left.
Mm-hmm.
It almost feels like he has the chance to be DeBoer's version of Julio Jones to Nick Saban.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that in-state elite wide receiver who sets the tone.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we'll see what happens. I really like where Alabama's at right now.
Who is his primary and secondary recruiter right now for Bama?
Well, I'm assuming that it's going to be Grubb and maybe Shepard, the receivers coach.
Yeah.
But it's just it's so hard to say because of all the coaching changes,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how much he's kind of divulged of who's recruiting him. I bet Kalen DeBoer is right.
In his
He's in
ear.
his ear.
Mm-hmm.
Homer Wiggins, when he was the wide receiver coach, who's now at A&M, was right in his ear all the time. T-Rob was in his ear a lot. So I imagine Robert Gillespie is going to be a part of it because he's kind of a part of the old guard. But there's no for sure way of knowing who his primary recruiter is right now because it's just the coaching staff's so new. I mean, there's just no way of really knowing.
Well, but you got to think about this too, Stacey. Kalen DeBoer has a secret weapon in his back pocket. Nick Saban's still on campus, so you get these recruits on campus and you still meet the GOAT. Kalen DeBoer pour that out. I mean, my gosh, I mean, how do you? I just don't understand that is so wild that he has that trump card in his back pocket if he needs it. That's so awesome.
Yeah, hey, and the quarterback that transferred over, Austin Mack, he's apparently already talked to Ryan Williams. And he's met with him. He wants to get him as well. So that's big as well. And look, I want to say this about the quarterback Austin Mack. This dude, I got to be honest, I knew virtually nothing about this kid before he announced he was transferring to Alabama. But I've went and watched some highlights. I've went and listened to him talk. I've went and listened to people talk about him, whether it's Brock Hurd, who's obviously played at Washington, knows all about the Washington program. Everything that I've seen and everything that I've heard points to Austin Mack having about as bright as future as you can imagine. I'm talking, there's people who think he will eventually be the number one pick in the NFL draft. That's what they think this guy can be. So the fact that he spent, and by the way, he graduated an entire year early. He's only 17 right now. He graduated an entire year early, enrolled at Washington, went through a whole year with them, moved all the way up to the depth chart, Jake. If something happened to Michael Penix last year, Austin Mack, 17-year-old Austin Mack, would have been the quarterback for the Washington Huskies.
Yeah.
So obviously, Coach DeBoer, Coach Grubb, they like this kid. I mean, he's 6'6", 230, rocket arm, man. I'm talking about as strong as arm and just smooth as butter delivery, no effort whatsoever. And it's crazy, man. I just think he has a bright future. And I'm not saying he'll be the star this year or anything like that. I'm just saying down the road, my goodness, that dude's special.
Yeah. Jim Wayne said, he watched the tape of Mac as well and said there's not a throw saying mates that he can't. So we got a special player. I agree, Stacey. I've seen a couple of his highlights as well. He does have a rocket arm. And, he's already, like you said, he's 17. He's already been in this system a year. He's followed, Coach DeBoer and Coach Grubb to Alabama now, where he can get integrated in the Southern terms and the Alabama way and the Alabama standard. So it need be that next year, not this coming year, but the next year, he's 2 years into the system at 17, 18 years old, and he'll be the star at Alabama. I mean, that's incredible to think about.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. People keep asking what's the good news going to be. It's just going to be a commitment, whether it's Noah Carter or any of the Washington guys that are visiting right now that are in the portal. So it'll be a commitment, maybe multiple commitments today.
Yeah. John Lee said there should be a 30-day grace period after a coaching change to get coaches settled before the portal opens. That would make it a little bit more fair, even 60 days.
Yeah, it's just the whole calendar for college football it's a joke.
Yeah.
And we could go on about that, but it just is what it is. You got to deal with it. You got to deal with it. And watching Coach DeBoer on Paul Feinbaum yesterday, that dude's, he's relaxed as all get out, like nothing's going on. Right. But he made the point to say, look, I did this 2 years ago. So I think that might have went a long way into determining, that he was target number one, that this is a guy who's been here, done that. He knows how to handle these type situations. So
he's cool, calm, and collected.
He is cool, calm, and collected, man. He's got it going on. It remains to be seen what happens. But right now, I could not be more excited about the Kalen DeBoer era of Alabama football.
Yeah. It's just still in the early days of it too, man. And
it's been a week.
Done. Yeah. it's just great to see. But everything he's saying so far is I love the staff. We talked about the staff he's building. I love. So, I'm anxious to get, spring here and see what A-Day kind of looks like. I know we're not going to see a lot, but we'll see a little bit to know how this team's going to be next year. Yeah. So I'm excited. And like I said, we still got a lot of leadership on that team, who have said, we're sticking with the new regime and we're going to be leaders and playmakers for this team this coming up season. So there's still a lot to be excited about, guys.
No doubt about it. And, the spring game is, I hope people show up in droves. I hope it's, 2007 all over again.
I hope I want to see, whenever it is, I want to see what we got going on. I'm going to try to get down there. I would love to.
I imagine, by the way, speaking of that, I imagine we'll have an announcement of the A-Day game really soon. Yeah. This is usually announced, in January. So I imagine it will be announced very soon. Looking forward to that announcement.
Yep. Talking Sports with Red said no one player is bigger than the program.
No doubt.
Yep. I agree with that.
Any questions, guys? Comments, concerns?
Man, I'm just excited about everything so far, man. It's going to be, a lot of people was talking about how the next guy replacing Nick Saban was going to be the Ray Perkins. It's going to be the next guy, not the one who replaces him, but the one who replaces that guy would be the one who's going to start changing the program over again. I just don't see that with Kalen DeBoer. He's, he may, I can see maybe the first season, maybe some struggles, but I don't see less than 9 or 10 wins of this team next year under him.
I'm confident 10-2 will be the record. Or at worst.
Right. I agree. I still see this being a great hire, and I still think Alabama needs to be taken serious in college football, even though we don't have Nick Saban on the sidelines anymore.
Yeah, this is obviously the story of the weekend or story leading up the next few weeks, and There's probably not a more important player for Coach DeBoer to land right now than Ryan Williams. And I mean, I think I like where Alabama's at. I really do. I think they're in good shape. If I had to predict it, I would predict that Ryan Williams is a part of the class.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
an interesting thought. I mean, it
Right.
really is an interesting thought. Does Mac have an advantage because of his entire year in the playbook? I mean, you got to think that gives him a little bit of advantage, but we'll see what that looks like on the practice field.
Mhm.
Um, the spring. Look, I love Jalen Milroe, but I think there's still a competition going on. I mean,
I agree.
that competition just got relit. We'll
Yeah.
find out about all these guys real soon.
I agree 100%. I feel like there's going to be, competition across the board at Alabama, and quarterback's going to be one of them.
Boone the GOAT. It says a lot that 2 years ago, DeBoer didn't have anyone miss the bowl game versus Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I think that shows what type of coach he is and what the players mean to him.
I agree 100%.
Or what he means to the players, I guess.
Yep.
Anthony Compton's. Who do we still have as far as DBs and safety left, Roll Tide guys? Well, there's still several guys. You got Devontae Smith, Malachi Moore,
Mm-hmm.
Jaleel Hurley. You got all the freshmen, Zay Mincy, Xavier Brown, Jalen Mbakwe, Drake Kirkpatrick. Golly, there's still a bunch on the roster.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason they recruited so many this year is because they thought some of these guys were going to pour out. Anyways, I think the only guy that really surprised them was Caleb Downs, and that's just because Saban left, and that's probably the biggest reason he come to Alabama.
Right. And I think keep an eye on Devontae Smith. I really think he might see the field a lot this year.
Yeah, Brock says don't forget about Dylan Lonergan. No doubt, dude. That dude was impressive last year as a freshman. I think he has tremendous upside.
He's got a good arm on him.
There's 4 quarterbacks in Tuscaloosa right now that, I mean, I really believe all 4 of them are SEC starters right now.
Yeah, we already seen what Milroe can do, as in the SEC. I mean, he's undefeated in the SEC so far. And then Ty Simpson, he's a great backup, but I feel like he could, be a starter anywhere else in the country. Austin Mack, we know what he can do. Dylan Lonergan, I feel like he could probably be a starter anywhere right now. So yeah, I mean that competition battle in the quarterback room is going to be fun to watch this spring and this fall before the first game hits.
What's up, Greg? Thanks for watching, man.
What's up, Greg?
Yeah, I think the QB competition, much like it was last offseason, is going to be the biggest storyline.
Yep.
Outside of, Nick Saban no longer being there.
You're right.
By the way, how strange is it going to be not seeing Nick Saban on the sideline?
It's going to be weird. That first game when they
do you even think it's even like sunk in yet? Like, I know we've talked about it. Everybody's been talking about it. That's all everybody ever talks about. But do you think it's really sunk in with Alabama fans or even college football fans in general that when I think it's August 31st rolls around against Western Kentucky, Nick Saban's not going to be on the sideline?
I know it's going to be weird for sure, but it may take a week or two to get get the reality of it. Like why Nick Saban is no longer coaching Alabama. He's no longer coaching. Period. He's retired. But I'm really confident about this new regime coming in for sure.
Yeah, Brock wants to know about the offensive lineman from Washington. Yeah, we talked about him a little bit ago. I imagine he's on campus this weekend, and I imagine that he will commit to Alabama. I think he's.
Can he snap the ball?
Yes.
Yeah.
He started at guard for Washington at the beginning of the season. Played the first 2 games at guard, moved to center. Finished the season out. Of course, Washington's offensive line won the Joe Moore Award for the best offensive line in the country. So that is exciting.
Yep. So, a lot of people was talking about, looking ahead of the schedule, but that third game of the season is against Georgia. So we'll see exactly what this offense and what you feel like DeBoer needs a signature win early on. That is going to be his first time to get it. So,
Yeah. Oh man, I mean, golly, you talking about getting thrown to the wolves? Your first SEC game is
as
against
against Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I'm so glad that he manned up and was like, yeah, I'm going to take over for Nick Saban, the greatest of all time, and I have no issue doing that. I'm sure a lot of people was like, who was thinking about it, was like, man, I don't want to be that guy. And the boys
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
come, yeah, no problem with me.
It's
Mhm.
oh man, what a year 2024 is gonna be, dude.
It's already been strange and been weird to start out. Now it's you know it's just going to get on crazier from there. It seems like.
Georgia with half Bama alumni on
Mm,
D.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't get Caleb Downs.
No, they didn't get Caleb Downs. Um,
By the way, I love the fact that Georgia, Auburn, the rest of the SEC is laughing at Alabama right now
right.
because I don't think they understand.
No.
I don't think they understand that even right now, like I mentioned, Alabama's roster is right up there with the elite of college football.
Yeah. And the spring portal is not even open at, like you said. So,
There's going to be plenty of dudes that want to come play for Alabama
mhm,
when that spring portal opens back up.
absolutely. Yep. Uh, Darrell McKenzie said, what if he beat Georgia, though? Wow, what a conversation it's going to be. Right.
No doubt. Oh my gosh. And we live rent free in their heads. Yeah, they can't. Even with
Yeah.
Saban gone, they can't quit talking about Alabama.
No. No, that's one of the things a lot of people I've seen on ads is talking about, Barners for sure is like, now Hugh Freeze is going to start running the state. Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, and look, you see the way Coach DeBoer put his staff together. He's got plenty of guys that have ties to the Southeast.
Mm-hmm.
He's got guys, like I mentioned, to the DMV, Midwest,
Mm-hmm.
West Coast. I think we got some guys on the West Coast right now visiting a 5-star corner from the class of 2025 right now too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
just
But
this staff is relentless. They're
yeah,
relentless.
a lot of people was putting up images of Kalen DeBoer beside Brian Harsin, saying it's going to be Brian Harsin 2.0. I don't see that for the sheer fact that, like you said, Stacey, Kalen DeBoer realized he's got to have some ties to the Southeast. He never did that. Brian Harsin never did that. He never got any ties to the Southeast. So he was just trying to run things like a Midwest program. Kalen DeBoer is running Alabama like it's in the Southeast, like he's supposed to. So that's the big difference, I feel like.
Well, remind me when Harsin won a Power 5 conference championship. When did he do that?
He didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then he had to have at least made the playoff once.
Nope, never did that either.
Oh, so he didn't make the playoff. He didn't win a Power 5 conference championship.
Nope.
He wasn't 112 or 104 and 12 as the head coach.
Nope. Nope.
So, I
It's
mean,
incredible.
in what way are they even similar?
They're not similar. I don't understand it. Never understood it. But I find, like you said, Stacey, 104 and 12. Freeze can even run up a like it. Yeah. 104 and 12. You got to think that success of winning is what really played a big factor into his signing coming to Alabama for sure. And look at this. Another thing, he is 4-0 against Steve Sarkisian and
5-0.
5-0 against Steve Sarkisian and Dan Lanning.
Yep.
Two of the top tier football, coaches.
He's beat Lanning 3 times and Sark twice.
I mean,
I want to show this real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a good way to look at it. Alabama, look, and when you say just as good, just play a different style. Look, there's a 12-team playoff now. I cannot keep emphasizing that enough.
Right.
There's a 12-team playoff now. Now you ain't got to go 11-1 or 12-0. You can go 10-2.
Mm-hmm.
In some years, you might even be able to go 9-3 and still get in the playoff. So, I think it may look different on the field, but I'm not saying we're going to win 6 championships in 17 years. I'm just saying we're still going to have a lot of success. It's just going to look a little bit different.
I hear the baby crying in the background.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, that might be our cue to head out for today. Jake,
Yeah.
plus tip off for Alabama basketball is like going on right now against
Yeah, it
Tennessee.
is.
So
Yep.
let's do that. We're gonna head out, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Had well over 100 people watching
Thank
the
you.
show today. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. We're also free and available on Apple Podcasts. If you happen to be watching the recorded version of this on YouTube, jump in the comment section. Give us your thoughts on today's show. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please continue to pray for Jake that he can get in some good rest, and for Cassidy and Emma Kate as well, guys. Thank you so much for the support. We appreciate you guys so much. And until next time, roll tide.
Roll Tide.